And welcome in, everybody. This is the Phillies 2024 Push to the Playoffs podcast. We'll be talking about the offseason. We're going to talk about the World Series. The Dodgers roll through the playoffs, win another World Series. We'll give you a little more details on that. We got some young Phillies bringing home some impressive awards in the minor leagues. We'll update you on who that was and what awards they have won. We'll also talk about an offseason of change in the Phillies front office and coaching staff. We'll bring you up to date on all of those changes. We'll also talk about MVP awards have been announced. Cy Young awards have been announced. We'll go through those for the league. Some Phillies getting some consideration on a couple of those things. Gold gloves and things like that. We'll also talk about the future plans. What are the Phillies going to do in this offseason? What are their priorities? Who are they targeting? We'll go through all that and a little bit more coming up. All right, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. We appreciate you taking the time out of your day to listen to this podcast about my Out of the Park Baseball 24 baseball team. Actually, we're going to change the title of this thing now that we've got into the offseason. This may or may not be the last in this series. We are going to continue with this team. I did some searching through free agency, some interesting trade possibilities coming up as well. So I thought, you know what? We're going to stick this out. We're going to see if we can't get this team back in the playoffs and see if we can't win. It's going to be our goal, which should be the goal for every organization in the major leagues, is to win that World Series. All right, I said at the jump we were going to talk about the World Series. We'll briefly go through that. We won't spend a ton of time on that because obviously we were not involved in it. This year's matchup was the Chicago White Sox and the Los Angeles Dodgers. The Dodgers just rolled through. They swept San Diego 3-0 in the first round. They had a bye in the first week, obviously, the best team in the National League. So they sweep out the Padres. They took out the Cardinals 4-1, and then they beat the Chicago White Sox 4-1 in the World Series. So an 11-2 record through the playoffs. The MVP of the World Series was Trey Turner. Phillies fans, yeah, it's a little hard to take, but hopefully we get some of that for the rest of the year from him in real life. So yeah, your Dodgers, 109-53 was their record in the regular season. Like I said, 11-2 through the playoffs. Trey Turner, World Series MVP. So yeah, your Dodgers are champions. Moving on from there. Let's talk about this offseason for the Phillies, and what does that mean? What do we got going forward? Jump right into the front office here. We'll look at personnel. Big changes in the coaching staff. Obviously, you see me still in the GM and manager's position, still running things. New assistant GM, Dayton Moore. We've got a new bench coach in Guy Kuroki from Brazil. Pitching coach, hitting coaches are still the same. First base, third base coach is still the same. New scouting director in Chris Klein. And team trainer Paul Buchheit, I believe that is. He was extended, actually. So pretty happy with we didn't have a lot of injuries last year, but the ones that we did were pretty key and at the end. But when we did have someone go down, the recovery times were pretty good. I felt like the training staff seemed like they were operating well throughout the season. Just some poor timing on those bullpen injuries as we went into the playoffs. Scouting director Chris Klein. I just wanted to get a different set of eyes on these players. As you know, in Out of the Park 24, it's very, very important to understand what your scout sees and what their priorities are and what they're good at. I think Chris Klein is an overall better rounded scout than the previous scout that we had. He also, let's take a look at him real quick. He also is outstanding scouting amateurs, and I think that this is a veteran team that has a window of one or two more seasons depending on what happens with Bryce Harper and some other folks this year. We'll talk about that in a second. But the window is here. It's right now. But we also can start trying to fill up that minor league system with some talent and see if we can kind of start the rebuild before we start the rebuild, if that makes any sense. All right. Fahey and Castillo are outstanding coaches. The only issue really with pitching coach and hitting coach, Mike Misaraka has caused some turmoil on the team. If you look at the staff roles now, things are a lot better. Throughout the whole last season, there was trouble, and that was because of, for some reason, Mike Misaraka cannot work well with normal people. Don't really know what that means, but he just does not like to work with normal people. So a lot of the changes that you saw had to do with personalities. So Thompson out as the bench coach, Fold gone as assistant GM. They're just different personalities trying to get this coaching staff to mesh a little better. We went all the way down through the organization, down through every level from AAA down to the Florida Coast League and the Dominican leagues and all those guys. We went down through there and we just rearranged our coaches to make sure that these personalities match up. So we got a combination of talented coaches that work well together. We've already raised this from content. It was, I forget what's below content, but that's where it was for probably about 3/4 of last season for the Phillies. And so we'll see if that helps. We'll see if that can improve some things. All these guys are really good at what they do, and now hopefully they can get along. And if you look over here, our coaches are excellent, legendary, and outstanding in all these areas. So we are looking to start bringing some younger players onto this team. We have coaches down through the system that should develop them well, but they should continue to develop as they come up to the Phillies. All right, so that was the plan there. Take a quick look at our owner and his goals for 2024. He issued in 2024, target year 2025, team record, reached the playoffs. We did that last year. We should be able to do that again this year. Well, we'll still talk about that. And his biggest priority, highest priority, is extend Zach Wheeler. Now, as you can see right here, Zach Wheeler has left the team. Zach Wheeler is gone because he's 34 years old. He wanted a 5-year contract somewhere in the neighborhood of like $22 million a year. That would take him to 39. He had, what did he have last year? 5-4, 4.98 ERA and 20 starts. Came off of that really big injury. Maybe I messed up when I didn't send him down for a rehab assignment. I don't know if that matters, but yeah, it was a very, very tough season for him. He would have an occasional really good start and then just struggle. And as you can see, his last 3 seasons with the Phillies were subpar. To be looking for that big of a contract and that long of an investment until he's 39 years old, just cannot do it. So Zach Wheeler is on our target. We'll go through our targets a little bit later, and we'll talk about who we're thinking about bringing in. But we're open to bringing Wheeler back if his price falls. Ownership wants me to get a Great Glove Award winner. We picked up Sixto Sanchez in an off-season move that kind of surprised me. I will talk more about that in a little bit later on. He's not a Gold Glove winner, a Great Glove winner, excuse me. We got some plans for that. Improve your draft record. So that's a low priority. Staff cohesion is something I think it should be the highest priority, and we've already worked on that. Hopefully we've already taken the steps to fix that problem. And international free amateur fines, our scout should improve that. And the long-term goal is a World Series by 2029. So I don't think any of those are unreasonable except for the Zach Wheeler. There is a part in this game where you can try to talk to your owner and maybe get some things changed, negotiate on a goal. I didn't see that. I couldn't find it. I don't know if I missed that window of opportunity or what, but we'll deal with that one. We'll just have to deal with that one. We'll have to take the hit there. because I don't think Zach Wheeler's coming back. All right, let's flip over. One thing that we kind of skipped over was some awards that Phillies minor leaguers have won. We'll start with Victor Labrada, who is an Eastern League Reading Phillies center fielder, 24 years old. Had an amazing year this year. 301 batting average, 374 on base percentage. He's from Havana, Cuba. He hit 32 doubles, 20 triples, 11 home runs, 66 RBIs, and he scored 80 runs down at Double-A. He got 10 first-place votes, and he is the Eastern League MVP this season. Great award for him. Kind of won it running away, really. There's a Jace Young from Erie, the Erie Seawolves, who got 2 first-place votes and 99 total, but 10 for Labrada and 156 total votes. So he was pretty much a consensus winner there. And another young Philly prospect, the second baseman in the Florida State League for Clearwater, Kobe Holter. He was named the 2024 Florida State League Most Valuable Player. He hit 371, a 420 on base percentage, in 132 games. Let me go back here real quick. Does it say how many games Labrada played? Because it was a lot of games, but it doesn't mention. So, well, obviously, if he racked up 20 triples and 80 runs scored, he played. He wasn't like a half-season call-up type thing. Anyway, 23 years old, 132 games, 209 hits, 48 doubles, 13 triples, 11 homers, 87 RBIs, and 102 runs scored. He got 6 first-place votes, 118 total. A little closer, Jason Dominguez, Tampa Tarpons, 3 first-place, 100. And then Jack Sawinski, Bradenton Marauders, 1 vote for first place and 92. And those were your top 3. So 2 Phillies minor leaguers winning the Eastern League and, Eastern League and what did I say? Florida State League MVP. So we'll see what that translates to in a couple years, see if these 2 guys are on the, maybe we'll see them in spring training, maybe not, but should see them in the future. All right, back to the offseason update for the Major League Club. We talked about the coaching changes. One other thing that happened, let's go down to personnel here, and we'll flip down. You might see a familiar name as your AAA Lehigh Valley manager. That is Brett Myers. Gone through hiring new coaches, and I look down and I see Brett. And I thought, oh, wow, it's Brett Myers. And then I looked at his ratings, and I was like, we should probably hire this guy. So he is jumping in. AAA was the place that had the most, we'll say, the best fit for him, I think, at this point. So, yeah, that's where we ended up throwing him in. He's going to be first-year manager down at AAA, but always thought Brett Myers had a really tough demeanor on the mound. He wanted the ball. I like that attitude, and we'll see how he works out down at AAA. The rest of there was coaching changes here. I mean, you don't know who any of these guys are, so we won't really talk about that too much. One thing I did was I also started to try to promote from within. When I was trying to mesh these coaching staffs up and say, you know, this guy has all these skills, but he would be a complete disaster working with this guy. So we shifted some guys up. So as vacancies came out, as one coach retired, Florida Coast League manager, I had planned on promoting him because that team was outstanding this previous season, but he retired. So then that opened up a position, and as we brought people in, we promoted some people up the ladder. So I'm looking for Martinez here, just 28 years old, but he's taken over the Reading Fighting Phils. He's got a good record with us. He's got good ratings, and I think good coach. Well, we want to reward that, and byproduct of that is I'm only paying my Double-A manager $40,000 a year. That was not intentional, but it's just a happy little accident that happened out of this because he was down, I believe, in the Dominican League, and he's been promoted up there. So a lot of these positions were figured out by who works well together and what do I want to accomplish at that level. So yeah, all right. So we'll move past those coaches because really you're not going to know who any of those folks are. Let's jump into my mailbox, and we'll scroll down and we'll real quick give you an update on league awards. You've got National League Gold Gloves, Stroman, Vasquez, Matt Olson, Tommy Edman, Matt Chapman, Lindor, Matos, Harrison Bader. We'll talk about him in a little bit. And Stencil with Milwaukee. No Phillies. Not a shock that our Phillies didn't win any defensive awards this year. Your American League reliever of the year was Julio Rabana. You got me on that one with Houston. 8-0, 11 saves, 2.25 earned run average. Edwin Diaz, now with the Yankees in this league, came in second. National League, here's something that'll be a little interesting to Phillies fans. Josh Hader is outstanding. Truly deserved this award. 1-2, 34 saves, a 1.70 ERA. He was great, but he is followed up by Roberto Osuna and Jose Alvarado. Alvarado actually got 4 first place votes, 50 total votes, but Osuna with 2 and 78. So, Josh Hader, the right guy. They picked the right person there, but Osuna and Alvarado were outstanding for the Phillies. 2.08 ERA for Osuna and Alvarado 1.80, so not too far behind Hader. So what could have been Roberto if you'd stayed healthy? Let's see. Top bats by position. We can just scroll down through these guys and you could take a look. Let's see. Melendez, Solar, Cronenworth, Franco, Zavala, Mike Trout. He's pretty good. Riley Green, Jordan Walker. We'll take a look at the National League. JT Realmuto taking home the award for the Phillies behind the plate. Olson, Trey Turner winning it at second base, although he did play shortstop much of the towards the end of the season. Correa, who was their shortstop, was injured, out for the season. Trey Turner was outstanding for the Dodgers. And let's see, we got Cruz, Tatis Jr., no surprises here. Bellinger, Juan Soto. Juan Soto was amazing through the season. And there is your Platinum Sticks. AL's Rookie of the Year, Jordan Walker. Some Phillies show up on this in the National League side. You got Corbin Carroll, who won it with a .298 batting average, 15 homers, scored 78 runs. Definitely a solid player. Rojas, 19 votes for Rookie of the Year. He had 20. I forgot how many homers he hit, but his biggest thing was 23 homers. He stole 33 of 34 bases, gave the Phillies some solid play in center field, and somebody to get on base and cause some trouble. So he was big in that role, and you may have noticed his overall rating there has gone up. We'll talk about that. Otto Lopez we picked up from Toronto, I believe. Yes, trade with Toronto. He was outstanding since when he joined the Phillies. 281, 356 on base percentage. He took over at second base. Decent, solid second baseman. Not great, not bad. So he's solid at second. He can run the bases. Not great speed, but good base running and good stealing ratings. And just he hits lefties and righties equally, and at least ratings wise. So very, very solid contributor to the team. Gave us somebody to get on base and even if he's not stealing a bunch of bases, just somebody to get on base and turn those solo home runs into 2 or 3 run homers. That was a big contribution from him. He also hit 10 home runs and 20 doubles. So good bat, a good addition. And he ended up with, what did I say? He actually ended up, he got 1 first place vote. He was the only guy to get a first place vote. Oh no, Matt Allen got 2. Never mind. Okay. But Lopez getting a first place vote and 5 overall. So good showing there for the Phillies rookies. Generally, you think of the Phillies as an old team, veteran squad, but there is some youth coming along. And what did I skip? I feel like I didn't do MVP. Did it not come up yet? Best manager for Chicago, Bria. I don't know if that's done every year, but these two guys faced each other in the World Series, and they win manager of the year. Coincidence. All right, here we go. Cy Young for the American League. Simeon Woods Richardson, outstanding season, 12-10, 3.34 ERA. What can you say about that? Followed by Shane Baz. Robbie Ray showing up there too. Robbie Ray had a very good season. National League Cy Young. You will not be surprised if you've been watching this series or following this thing at all that there are no Phillies appearing on the Cy Young Award voting. Rough season for every single starter on the team, just about. Corbin Burns with the Los Angeles Dodgers, 16-5, 2.28 ERA in 33 starts, struck out 225 batters in 197 and a third innings. Yeah, he was your guy. Some really nice seasons for Tyler Mahle, 307 earned run average. Spencer Strider made 34 starts, 3.53 on an Atlanta team that struggled. But Corbin Burns is definitely your guy. He's looking to get about $33 million a year. And your AL MVP for, I believe, the 5th time in real life, and now combining real life with my simulated seasons. Again, that was the 3rd season in the simulation. So Mike Trout gets his 5th MVP, American League MVP, followed by Tim Anderson. Tim Anderson was really good. Man, it's tough. 355 on base percentage, 321 batting average, 25 homers. It's a really solid season. He's playing shortstop. But Mike Trout, 52 homers, hit 257, but 381 on base percentage. So this guy gets on base and he hits the ball out of the park. 115 RBIs for the Angels. So, all right. Oh, I didn't do the National League. Oops. Yeah, this is good because Tatis wins it, and another shortstop putting up big offensive numbers: 324 doubles, 2 triples, 61 homers, and 151 RBIs. 30 first place votes. No real competition for him. Even though Trey Turner, he played second and short, but racking up really, really strong numbers as well. Did Trey Turner and Juan Soto. A monster year for him as well. Scroll down the list here a little bit. You'll see JT Realmuto getting some love. 57 MVP votes. 267, 25 homers, 67 RBIs. This obviously pales in comparison to these other guys, but you're getting, what I think is cool is the game apparently recognizing JT's defense and that difficult position that he plays and putting up the strong numbers. He actually hit a lot higher than that for most of the year. He faded towards the end of the season. He was in the 270s, 280s for much of the season, but kind of slumped down the stretch. He played well in the playoffs, though. He hit 2 homers in those 2 losses. So he did show up. Now that takes you through. I don't think there's any more left. No, that's it for the awards. What else did we want to get to today? All right. Let's go talk about what we're going to do moving forward. All right, so I shortlisted some players here. And just give me 1 second. There we go. All right, I wanted to check my time because I tend to ramble on these things. And I want to keep them to an acceptable length. All right, shortlisted some players here. So of your 24 free agents, here's a list of the guys that I went down through and found interesting. I got scouts going to look at some of these guys because we don't have great scouting reports on them at the moment. But Fu Quan Deng is from Taiwan. No major league experience, but compelling. With Zach Wheeler leaving, now you look down here and you say 21.6. It's a little bit out of our budget. We're looking at around $22 million. So maybe we could sign this guy. But I want to get some better info on him. I'll get my scout out to see him. Just because if this control is better than that, this guy could be a number one starter. He's a ground ball pitcher. Good personality. Workout guy. Popular in the clubhouse. So, 30 years old, but, he could fill Wheeler's spot in the rotation. It's hard to say, though, because he's never pitched in the major league, so I want to get a better look at him. But if we do that, that's basically our move, outside of maybe getting creative with some trades and fixing some budget issues. Joe Musgrove is a guy who's a little bit cheaper that I want to see if maybe his price falls or if he's left, hanging around towards the end of free agency. Rodriguez, a really good guy who's 99% sure going to get gobbled up by someone out of my price range, but he's a really, really good pitcher. He's a lefty, which would help our rotation out a bit. But again, I don't think he's going to be with the Phillies. Sandoval, a cheaper guy who, if we make some of the moves that we make that I'll talk about in the next part of this, maybe he's a guy that we pick up because we might be looking at, we do have an open spot with Zach Wheeler out. How we're filling that, we'll talk about. Sandoval is one of the options. Zach Wheeler, contract demand $24.5 million per season. That's for 5 years. It just wasn't there last year. It wasn't as good. As much as I love to play this game with my heart, and there's certain key guys I like to keep, because once the team gets so different, I lose my connection with the team sometimes, right? So I do like to try to keep a core or have players that keep it the Phillies in my mind, right? So Zach Wheeler was one of those guys that I was hoping we would keep and ride this thing out with, but probably not going to happen. But we'll see if he doesn't get any offers and the price falls, or if he's willing to take less years. We'll talk. Maya is a good defensive catcher, $1.5 million. I'm probably going to need a backup catcher. We'll talk about that in a second as well when we go through the trades. Not a great offensive player, but he could come in there and give JT a day off and, might work some counts here. He's got that high eye, that high discipline. So, somebody that can bring something to the table offensively and give you a really solid defense. Austin Nola, I got a little in over my skates a little bit on this. I already offered him a contract because I think offensively, as far as backup catchers go, that's not bad, right? And then his leadership skills are excellent. He plays a ton of positions. He's not a great catcher, but he's not catching every day. He's going to catch every fourth or fifth day to give Nola a day off. So I like he's willing to sign a minor league contract, and if he makes the major league team, he's $1.5 million. For this, that's not bad. And that leadership that he brings, that's possible. I think I might like Amaya a little bit better as a player, but maybe Nola helps us in the clubhouse. Kevin Newman, real quick, I identified him as a potential leadership guy, again, over here. And I like this avoiding the K's. Not a great offensive player. Only hit .210 at AAA last year. But plays middle infield. I'm sure if we put him out at first base or third base, I bet he'd do all right there in spring training and maybe get a rating there for that as well. So looking at him as a potential utility guy. Harrison Bader, center fielder. He is a free agent. $16 million is too much, But when you look at this defense and what that could do for the Phillies, he can run the base as well. Not a great offensive player, but he could contribute. He only hit .212 last year, though, 22 homers. I put him on this list, but honestly, defensively, he's much better than Rojas, but offensively, he's not. Next would be Jason Hayward. Now, put a star next to this name. Hayward, 35 years old. He's a veteran, but he's a left-handed batter. I got a scout out on him just to confirm these numbers and stuff, but plays every position in the outfield, and he plays it very well. Good teammate, so good culture guy. Yeah, he's a veteran who hit .259 last year, 15 homers. Jason Hayward is possible. He's in the plans. We'll talk further in the trades about that. Victor Robles, another good defensive player, gives you some gap power, runs the bases well. $1.5 million is all he's looking for. So, if nothing else works out, Robles is possible. Michael Taylor, a free agent again, he's looking for $3.5 million. He's just so good in the outfield and such a good base runner. If he gets on base, he can steal. Man, how many runs can that guy like that save you in center field, especially when he's playing next to Schwarber? So that would be very helpful. I don't think that's the direction I want to go, though. You might have noticed there's more than a few Gold Glove guys here. That's one of our owner goals, and that's not why I'm necessarily getting them for the owner goals, but it is more about, I agree that is very, very important. Want to get better up the middle, see if we can help our pitchers out. So my thought process for this offseason with this team is we could throw all our money into one pitcher, but if we don't fix our defense, then he's probably going to struggle just like all the other pitchers did last year. So let's go get a center fielder that can cover some ground. Let's get a shortstop like Jose Iglesias maybe that can really pick up our shortstop defense, that middle defense, because when I'm looking at Baum at third, say Stott at short, and then Lopez at second and Hoskins at first. A 50 at first, a 55 at second, a 50 or a 45 actually maybe, and Stott at shortstop, and a 50 at third base, right? Now they're all, like, when you look at their range, and with the exception of with Baum and Hoskins, the middle guys are decent athletically, but Iglesias would give us a really good shortstop. That would make Stott our utility guy. We have Baum at third. I thought I was going to be moving on from Alec Baum this year, but he hit .287 and 24 homers last year, even though his ratings don't show it. So I got to let this thing ride, because I'm starting to try to trust the numbers a little more that they put out on the field, the production, rather than just looking at their ratings and saying, let's get rid of this guy. But his defense is tough. His defense can be tough at times. But man, 287, 24 homers, 80 some RBIs. You can't just ignore that. And even with arbitration, we're paying him about $3.25 million for a third baseman that put up those numbers. If he struggles, Stott can jump in and upgrade us on defense. And Stott hit, I believe, .230 last year with about 16 homers. So that won't kill us at third. So I'm thinking Iglesias is gettable. Iglesias, though, will cost us a high prospect. And I think what we're going to do is actually go through these actual trades in the follow-up to this video, because I don't want to sit down here and get this thing going over longer. We're already almost at 35 minutes. So I want to wrap this up. But this is the plan for the next edition of this. We're going to go after Iglesias. That's our first priority. And if you look at him, did we bring him up? I don't know if I did. But that defense at shortstop will help us out so much. He's a decent offensive player. 259, 12 homers. I don't care about the home runs. I'd like to see him on base a little bit more, but if he plays defense and hits like that, we hit him 8th or 9th. We don't care. We can handle the $11 million. He's a free agent after 2026, so we've got a shortstop for 2 years that fits our window and solidifies that, right? Kepler is a guy who's on the trading block. All 4 of these guys are on the trading block. That's how we found them. Not really all that interested in Kepler. 217, 20 homers. Rojas hit better than that, and Rojas is a comparable center fielder. Kepler's got a little bit better arm. He did win the Gold Glove at right field, but anyway. So it's depending on whether or not you believe the scouting report on Rojas, that's a toss-up. Suzuki is available and I could get him, but it would be stupid because he's a really good player, and offensively he fits what our lineup needs, giving us a much better on-base percentage guy to hit in front of some folks like Castellanos or Schwarber, but that would be it. That would be all we'd have, and then I'd have another corner outfielder on this team, and I have a ton of corner outfielders. Let's see. All right. So, Iglesias. Oh, we didn't talk about Bednar. Bednar is available also. I did some playing around with the trades just to see if these guys are gettable. The Milwaukee Brewers seem to be interested in our backup catcher, Rafael Marchand. So I would ship Marchand to the Brewers. I could get Bednar for him. I believe that deal will be accepted. I didn't push it through, but it looked like they would take it. So again, next video we'll follow up with that. So quick jump back here, back to the free agents. So we add Bednar to the bullpen. We give that some depth because remember, Giovanni Gallegos is out and probably until September, maybe somewhere in that time, but late next year. We won't see him again until late next year. So our priorities, we could use another starting pitcher would be great, but I think fixing the defense is better. So of all of these guys that we looked through, I think my top priority here is Hayward and a backup catcher. But the reason I say that is Hayward fixes our defense. He gives us a left-handed center fielder, right? We wait and see if any of these higher profile starters drop to us. Maybe we figure out a way to get them, dump a salary, dump a contract somewhere, and get one of those guys. But otherwise, if we really feel like we need a starter, we can go to Musgrove or Sandoval. Let's flip over to the home screen here and look at what we're talking about. All right, so right now, Wheeler was in the number 1 spot, so I'm just leaving that open for now. Nola, Kershaw, Hancock, and Sanchez. Sixto Sanchez, we didn't talk about this. Sorry, we skipped over this. Sixto Sanchez, as I was going through the days of the offseason, the Marlins offered me a deal for Sixto Sanchez, and man, I took it. Let's see, what was the trade? Go down here and see if we find it. Yeah, we traded it to the Marlins for Alex McFarland. McFarland is pitched down at Clearwater last year. The numbers aren't great. He's an interesting guy in that he's got some really good potential stuff. Like his slider's amazing, his fastball's amazing. The cutter would be above average if it peaks out, and would be an average changeup. I don't like the control, but if this pans out, he's got above average movement, above average stuff. Just a 50 at stamina. I kind of was thinking that this guy might actually be better in the bullpen. Extremely self-confident, so maybe he is a bullpen guy, but also he can also play left and right field, and you see he's got some decent numbers. So a potential 23-year-old potential two-way player. So an interesting athlete. Florida had a rough season last year. I don't think they're planning on contending this year. So moving Sanchez, who we have for this season, and then at the end of the season, he'll hit arbitration. His salary's already $3.5 million. We'll see how he does. Now he's another guy that's throwing for his paycheck, so hopefully that means it's a big year. Just a 4.58 ERA, but he's a major league ready guy. I needed a starter. We're gonna give him a shot. We'll see how it goes. So anyway, all right. So Sanchez, Hancock pitched really well for us last year. Hope we can continue his growth. Kershaw rebounded nicely. I wanted to trade him about halfway through the season. I'm glad I didn't. He ended up being a big part of our drive. Nola was up and down all season, faded towards the end. Both these guys pitched decent in the playoffs, though, so they did a good job in that situation. They kept the team in the games. It was the bullpen that fell apart on us in there. So right now we're looking at a spot, not necessarily the first spot in the rotation. This is why we are considering some of these higher profile pitchers and seeing if any of them fall, because really, ideally, you would add a top of the rotation guy here, because I don't think Nola's a top of the rotation. Kershaw isn't anymore. Hancock, no. Good pitcher, but no. And I don't think Sanchez is either. I think I might flip these two and let Hancock take the 5th spot, Sanchez pick 4th, maybe. But ideally, we would have, a real Zach Wheeler here. And this is a good rotation. But this team had it says 9th ERA. I don't know if that adjusted. I thought it was 10th. But starters ERA was 9th or 10th. So we need to get that better. But one way we maybe get that better is for guys like Nola that depend on their defense, let's get that defense better. Let's fix shortstop. So Stott goes to the bench. Iglesias goes in at short. Campo comes out of first because we've got Rhys Hoskins back and healthy. I just didn't update the lineup. Realmuto, of course, is catching. Rojas is really interesting because there you see what my scout thinks, and here you see what the league thinks. So the league thinks he's a better defender than my scout does in center field. My scout thinks he's a better offensive player. That's interesting. We'll see how he develops and grows. But like I said, 33 of 34 stolen bases last year. That was in a part-time role. 390 plate appearances. He hit 23 homers. So 390 plate appearances, 23 home runs, pretty darn good. So the offensive production from him was there. On base percentage could be better. We'll see if he grows into that. But yeah, so Hayward and him in center field. Let me talk this through. So if you got Hayward, the steady defense, maybe he comes in late in games and Rojas moves over to left. Or, you can platoon them in a sort of way, right? In some sort of way. But I want Rojas to get the bulk of the time because we want him to develop. In right field, our man Bryce Harper has just fallen off a cliff, and I'm really hoping to play him through it and see if, the heart and soul of the team can come back. But right now he's not very good, and just take a quick peek at his ratings. I mean, that's him against lefties. He's just terrible against lefties. He's still all right against right-handers, but I mean, it's terrible to say, but he looks like a platoon. I did 2 scouting reports, actually. Once I changed the scouting director, I did a scouting report before, and then obviously when you get a new scouting director, they haven't looked at your guys, so they have to go through. So I've had the scout looking at all of my players and a bunch of people that we're looking at around the league. So now we've got the ratings of the scouting accuracy up to very high for Bryce Harper and Zach Wheeler. I did the same thing for him because those two are key players to this team, and I really needed to know what they had. But yeah, we're just hoping that Harper recovers, and I think one of the things that maybe we can do to help that is hopefully Bryce doesn't go too crazy, but you'll probably see Harper and Campo maybe splitting some time. Campo's got to hit this year. If he doesn't hit, then good luck to you in your next destination. But he's got to start hitting. But maybe we can do some matchups to help Harper get the better matchups, and maybe we get some momentum going, and we can resurrect the guy who really should be the best player on the Phillies. So you're looking at somewhat of a platoon in right field with Harper and Campo. Maybe Rojas gets in there because Rojas, the way he runs, you want him in the lineup. Rojas in center, maybe with Hayward. And then left field, you got Schwarber. And when you need to give him a day off, you've got Campo and you've got Rojas that can back him up. And even Hayward in center can play left field. So we've got options. We can plus up our defense out there. The infield then, to me, becomes so much better when you put Iglesias in there. That helps cover some ground. Lopez, like I said, is pretty good. Stott can come in and improve your defense at third or improve your defense at second late in games. And, of course, Castellanos, we're looking for him to rebound as the DH. Had a good run in the second half, but then kind of faded out himself too. So disappointing season for him. Hopefully he rebounds, and Alec Baum, we'll see how he does at third base this year. 287, a very good season for him offensively, but you look at these ratings, and that does not look like a 287 hitter to me. But all right, did we miss anything? So yeah, shortstop, center field, get Bednar to beef up the bullpen. See if any of these starters fall to us. Oh, one last real quick, because I'm way over what I wanted to be on this thing. Go down to the minors, and we have one potential. Oh, no, he's even down. Yeah, he's at Reading. Here he is. Edward Segovia is the number 28 prospect in baseball. He's ready to come up. He's unhappy. He pitched A+ last year, 25 starts, 3.84. Very good season. This is what my scout thinks of him. This is what major leagues think of him. So not too different, actually. I thought there was a bigger difference than that, but it's not too different. But a dynamic fastball, really good slider, throws a changeup. The movement and control, we're going to give this guy a look in spring training, see if he's ready. He wants to be ready. Well, and then he'll get the throw and determine. We'll give him a shot. If he gets people out, maybe we'll bring him north with us and let him take that 5th spot. But, yeah, we'll see. We'll have to see how that's going, see who drops to us. And, yeah, I think we got everything. I think we covered it all. Next time we get together, we'll talk about how these trades go. I think what I'll do is I'll just record and I'll sit down and I'll work through these trades. And then I'll cut it searching through some of these minor league systems. Yeah. I just realized that I had that music cranked. I apologize for that. All right, that's probably a little better. We'll go right there. Now you can probably hear me. All right, I'm going to wrap this up. I'm going to shut up. Thank you for tuning in. I apologize. You probably didn't hear anything I said once I hit that music. But we're just going to look at the next video. We'll make the trades, and I'll record them so we can go through them and you can see what happened with all that. All right, this has been the Phillies 2024 playoff push, moving on to the 2025 season. See if we get back in those playoffs. See if we can move on to the next round, maybe even win a World Series. Thank you for taking your time out. Please like, please subscribe if you're enjoying this, and I'm out.